Chiefs special teams coach Dave Toub. It's a Dave Toub episode, guys. He recently called Xavier Worthy, quote, the best punt returner nobody knows about. This is a surprise considering his rise in the offense, him talking about Xavier Worthy in the special teams at context. He also raved about Nikko Remigio, while also mentioning one of our favorite rookies, Brashard Smith, i.e. the Alvin Kamara 2.0, according to Louis Riddick. But he mentioned Brashard Smith's top-end speed, addressing all the options that we have for the punt return position. So here is Dave Toub talking about our weapons in the return game as far as punt return.
Remigio just continues to get better, and he's gonna be a hard guy to beat out. He doesn't have that dynamic, Brashard Smith top end speed, but he brings so much other things to the table as far as his ball reads, his catching on the run, his instincts of how close somebody is to him, where you can time it up and beat him with just his catching ability, alone. So, and he just keeps getting better, So it's gonna be a great battle at that punt return spot. But like I said, Brashard is a guy that's going to be in the mix. Worthy will be in the mix. Now, if you remember, Worthy, he was going to be our guy. He planned on being our guy until Rashee Rice got hurt, and that changed everything for that dynamic. He ended up being the number one for us last year, so we couldn't afford to have him back there. Now I say he's the best punt returner nobody knows about right now in the league, and that's Worthy. So hopefully we get him back there too.
So JD, obviously interesting because, right? I mean, Xavier Worthy became one of our top receiving options, and I think it's kind of his role in the offense is only going to expand and grow. He mentions Worthy there, but is it much more than that? Would you think we will see Xavier Worthy in there because of his role on offense? He might not play. I mean, it's weird that he's even mentioning him just based on his role might grow. But also, too, he talked about Nikko Remigio, kind of much like he talked about Eddie Jablicki. He kind of raved about Nikko Remigio. But then you also mentioned Brashard Smith here. How do you think this whole thing's going to play out? And realistically, do you think Andy Reid's going to allow Xavier Worthy to be on punt return?
Oh, man. I don't know. Look, listen, Dave could say whatever he wants to say, who he wants to have back there. Look, Xavier Worthy is one of the fastest in the NFL, period, right? The fastest, right now. It would be a dream come true to have a guy like that. But I don't know if Andy and those guys are going to let that happen. Like, hey, man, look, you might have to find somebody else. Now, in the pinch, sure, you might want to be able to utilize him. And it's all about, guys staying healthy. I think you might give him a shot. Sometimes you need to make a play. Throw a guy back there. So it's good to go ahead and get him a lot of reps and stuff now in OTAs and mini camps. There's nothing wrong. There's no harm in that. No harm in that whatsoever. So let's just say somebody's not available and we got enough as far as what we want to do with Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and other guys are out there playing. It's like, hey, you know what? Let X get back here, return one. Okay? The road runner. Let that joker catch the ball and let him get up through. And that means everybody's got a block for this guy. Make sure he's not taking no unnecessary hits. So, is that on his wish list? Is Christmas coming early for Dave? Maybe. So I know that's what's on his wish list for sure. He wants that to be on his tree, Marcus. We just don't know if any of those guys will allow something like that, just because he is a valuable piece than what we do offensively, especially a wide receiver as a weapon. So, you just got to manage it, I guess, right?
Well, it's one of those things too, right? When Tyreek Hill's first year or two, first few years in the league, right before he became the guy, even his second year after he dominated his first year, they still used him at punt return. It wasn't until when they got another weapon like McCall Hardman, that's when okay, we don't need to use Tyreek. And I think Tyreek was still utilized sparingly if we were down in a game and need a big return, need a jolt. They put him back there, so I think maybe they'll use him that way. That's kind of how that's why I think they should use him, especially because I think now Sherry says it here. Yeah, Hollywood went down in preseason last year. Rashee Rice goes down in week 2. I think they want to kind of keep the guys who are going to be pivotal guys in the offense. as healthy as possible. By not playing them on special teams, they don't have to play. Don't do it. So that's kind of where I am. Unless we need a big return at the end of a game, then you put them back there. Otherwise, kind of roll with 81 back there or whoever.
Okay, so let's talk about that. First, let me give a shout out to Matthew Crespo. Say, hey guys, I'm here with Stuart in Tampa General Hospital, Tampa, Florida, visiting him. First time listening. The show's great. Appreciate it, Matthew. Thanks for visiting our brother. And, make sure you take care of the school, you visiting and taking care of my guy. He's always good. So let's get into that conversation. When Mecole Hardman was here, Mecole Hardman is probably one of the top 3 receivers on our team, and we utilized him at that position. So that is definitely doable. I think everybody is always worried about X and his size. It's one of the things, right? Can he take the hits? Is that something that was he's shown that. That sucker's all muscle. He might be thin, but that sucker is muscle, every bit of him. And so I would think that it's advantageous to utilize a guy like, Xavier Worthy in certain parts, certain points. Like, why not? If like I said, if you need a play, sure, let him be the guy. I know everybody's saying Nikko Remigio, but man, Nikko may not get a spot on the roster. We would like for him to. We know he's worked hard to earn everything he's done, but things change. They do, and so if they're sitting over here picking and choosing, like, well, who's going to be the 7 receivers, right? Or did we keep 6 or 7? Who's going to be the guys? Is Nikko, doing enough to warrant being at that position? I like Nikko. I like him a lot. Nikko can do a lot of different things with the football, make guys miss, in small spaces. But Xavier Worthy has world-class speed that nobody else can do. So, and McCall was not a dynamic exit receiver. X was good because we did a lot of different things with him. He's versatile. Nikko was versatile. It was versatility. But I would say that Rashid Rice and Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy still has to prove that he's as good as receivers as those guys, right? Those we've seen, Hollywood Brown have 1,000 yards and ton of catches. Rashid Rice, same thing. We know Xavier Worthy's that good. We know that. So why not utilize him in other ways, right? Because of the versatility. We use him on reverses, right? Use him on screens. So this is just another way that you could utilize a guy like this. And I'm not opposed to it. I don't know if Andy will be opposed to it or not. Just kind of thinking about it, Marcus, because like I said, Mecole Hardman, Mecole might not have caught that many balls, but when he was out there to catch balls, he did it. He was doing other things. And that's what this offense is looking for. We're looking for guys like that have that type of ability, athletic ability. So I don't think it's far-fetched. I don't. What do you say?
I would say you bring up a really good point as far as when Mecole Hardman was here, he was kind of the X. And I mean, just kind of look at the 3. So yeah, Sammy Watkins at the time. Rashid Rice is the Sammy Watkins. I would say Rashid Rice is a better version of what Sammy Watkins was at that point in his career. Tyreek Hill, Hollywood Brown, Hollywood's to a lesser extent Tyreek Hill. Well, he's not Tyreek Hill, but he would be the Tyreek Hill, I would say.
Yeah.
And then Xavier Worthy, Mecole Hardman, probably a better version of Mecole Hardman. But I do see the point there as him being the partner. He's only his second year. And again, if we're misreading this, right, we go into the season and he's kind of the number 1, 2, then I would say, 100% keep him away. If he's a big part of the offense as far as being your number 1 or number 2, not as your number 3 receiver, and Hollywood becomes more of that number 3 guy, then sure, don't put him back there unless we need a big jolt at the end of the game to get us in good field position on the punt. Then you put him back there. Like you said, I think situationally, I think is where he needs to be played. Not axe it all together, but situationally put him back there. I don't think you and I are asking to be the main punt returner all season long.
And I think Andy loves having that ability, where he can throw a guy like that in and go make a play. Like, going back here, let's see what he's going to be able to do, right? I think this is what's so fun for Andy, to have those type of weapons and fast guys all around you. And now we got another guy in Jalen Royals too, Marcus, who can take some of the pressure and the brunt of some of those catches. Now, X, because he's a competitor, wants the ball in his hand all the time. We'd be silly not to. So every opportunity we have to get the ball in X's hand, let's do it. So if one of them is returning, why not? Why not?
What did you make of what he said about Nikko? Obviously, you said Nikko did a great job last year, but he said he was raving about him. He kind of talked about his. I mean, pretty much described your ideal instinctual punt return that you want.
Yeah,
What do you think of what Toub said about him, and what is your overall opinion on how you saw Remigio last year?
I think Nikko, man, like I said, man, he's a hard worker. He's a very talented guy. He's very elusive. He is a return guy, no question about it. He's a return guy. For Nikko Remigio, he keeps climbing up the ladder. I want him to be in that 5 wide receiver category. I want you to be top 5, Nikko. You don't necessarily have to be, but I love to see even more from you, right? As opposed just to returns. Like, yeah, we get you a little bit, a couple of bones thrown to you here and there in the offense, sure. But if this is going to be like his specialty, and we want to use a roster position for that, and knowing he's a very solid guy, consistent guy, it's like, hey, if Nikko is not doing the return, he could be playing offense, right? I think it's pretty much how it works. So you got to see that he's a guy that's capable of coming in and doing all that, the volume if you needed to throw the ball to it, and he can. So I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm not. So,
yeah, I think you bring up a good point as far as because I mean, like you mentioned, we have Jalen Royals now. That receiver room is even deeper, right? So it's one thing to be a contributor on that special teams unit, but if you can't make a cut as far as being a contributor in that wide receiver room, then it makes things tougher. And it also is what are you doing for me outside of that kind of thing?
Right. And you better start taking some balls to the house. Now, if you take a couple balls to the house, you got a spot. And it's always like how they could utilize guys. My thing is, if you're doing that and you put Xavier Worthy back there, you sure, we need a home run right now. Okay? We need the Joker to go hit his head on the goalpost. Give him a little space. And he's elusive. X is elusive enough to make guys miss. And, once he gets in the wind, it's over. You cancel Christmas, baby. Ain't nobody running him down. I don't care who you got back there. Punter, forget it. Brashard Smith is another. I see it. I'm looking at his. He's another one.
Yep.
But you got to move up in the depth chart. That's how it is. That's how it works.
That's a good point.
So, yeah.
But between the two of them, Brashard Smith and Nikko Remigio, who do you think has a leg up on? Obviously, both these guys have performed well in camp, but based on Brashard Smith's position in the running back room and what he provides to that room, how different he is, and then you add in Remigio, what he can do, what he provides to that receiver room. Do you think Brashard Smith kind of has a little bit more of a leg up based on what he can do for our running back room?
That's a very good question, man. Because they both kind of right there on the cusp of are they going to be, not just a 53-man roster? Are they going to be able to travel too? Are they going to be the travel guys? And if Brashard Smith is showing the value and you can make a guy obsolete. You can take a position of doing that. That's a great thing about competition, man. It's good stuff. I can't wait to see this in camp. Let me put it that way. I'm writing this stuff down because I need to see this. These are some good battles right now. Special teams wise, some good battles. If you see X back there, you know what kind of direction they're going to be going.
Okay, so if we see X back there, what does that say about Brashard Smith and Nikko Remigio? Do you think that's, if we see X back there, is that worse for Nikko than it is for Brashard Smith as far as making the team?
Yeah, because sometimes you might have Nikko, you got to cover now. You got to do more than just that. You got to be able to cover and all those different things. But if they put X back there, he's taking reps from Nikko Remigio. So,
yep.
Brashard Smith is, he's kind of like, I mean, he's a wide receiver. He's a running back. He's got
so many tools that he provides, which is why I think that like he could be the happy medium, right? If you still want that burst, because I mean, Remigio's not fat, but he wasn't measured like as a 4.3 guy, high speed guy. I mean, even and Toub also mentioned, and if you watch this entire presser, he talked about kick return. And he talked about having a Brashard Smith and Carson Steele back there. He said you want to have a guy who's fast, like a Brashard Smith, and you also want to have a guy like, because someone mentioned having P. Ryan and Steele back there last year, because you want to have a guy who can block ahead of that fast guy, like a Brashard Smith type. So he mentioned him twice and talked about returns, which I think bodes well for Brashard Smith getting looks from him.
They're watching everything. They're watching it all, Marcus. And I'm telling you, they are taking notice. They're taking a tally on how guys are doing. So it's good. That's another good battle.
Yeah. So Smith provides you a little bit of the happy medium, right? If you don't want to use X back there, okay, we'll put another fast guy back there. Put Brashard Smith back there if you want to have that speed, and there you
go. Yeah.
And you can utilize him at that all year long because he's not going to have a main role in the offense.
Right, because it goes into the battle now of running back room. Seriously. So
yeah,
it's good.
And special teams can be fun to watch. If people leave the room during special teams, no. You stick around and watch all special teams throughout the preseason, guys. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.